All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the weekly wrap up, everybody. I'm your main man, Pips, aka Mr. Levels, aka Hop, aka is up there. You know. So, before we jump into the weekly wrap up, just let me give a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Anything that I share during this analysis is for educational purposes only. I repeat, this is not financial advice. Cool beans. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. So, looking back over last week, you guys know that in the pre-week analysis and in the beginning of the week analysis, I told you that I was bullish for DXY. I told you guys that I wanted to see us run um run last week's buy side liquidity and run up into um this 107.186 level, right? I told you guys that I was bullish until we reached that level. And then when we got to that level, I wanted to see how price action reacted to that level. I mean, if you don't believe that, go and watch the pre-week analysis and the beginning of the week analysis from last week, and you will see that I said exactly that. Um, I wanted to see us run that 107.186 level and see if price was able to break above it and close above it aggressively. If that scenario would have played out, then I told you guys that this next level at 107.993 would be my next point of interest for price to retest, or should I say run, right? I told you guys if we did not close below that level, I mean above that level, that I expected us to pull back down into Monday's price range. I told you guys that on Wednesday, right? So Wednesday, I told you guys being that we did not close above that 107.186 level, right after we got the run of the 107.186 level that we were looking for. I told you guys that I expected price to pull back down into this BISI, right? Into the discount PD array of this imbalance from Monday's price range, right? And I told you guys if we broke through these levels, I would need to see us break below them, close below them, right? And if that occurred, that I would expect price to come back down and retest last week's weekly PD array levels. Of course, the 62% being first. And if we were able to break and close below that, then obviously the 79% level being second, and the sell side, weekly sell side liquidity, and so forth and so forth. So we did get price to pull back down into the discount PD array of Monday's price, right? Just as expected, right? And we made it down to run the 62% weekly PD array. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Exactly what we wanted to see. So, being that we got that going forward for the upcoming trading week, right? I want to see if price opens up, if we gap to the downside, right? If we gap to the downside, I'm going to look for price to run that 79% level of last week's price range, right? And if we find support within that level, right? Notice that that level looks to be the consequent encroachment of the daily volume imbalance that we broke through last week, right? So that's a very significant level. And if we find support at that level, I will expect price um, to continue to the upside because we know that I'm long term the dollar, right? Long term to the upside. So I would like to see us get up into this SIBI, this daily fair value gap that we see right here. So If we do open up and gap to the upside, then um see I would be interested in seeing if we can break back above these. As a matter of fact, I need to put Friday's PD array levels on there, right? And I would anticipate price pulling back up into a premium level, right? And then I would want to see how price reacted to Friday's premium PD array. If we broke above it aggressively, right, and closed above those levels, then I would expect that upward momentum to continue. However, if we cannot break above those levels, right, and we find resistance and we're unable to break above those levels, then excuse me, then I would expect DXY to continue to the downside to run the weekly sell side liquidity and possibly come down into this daily fair value gap that we see right here where my mouse is currently at, right? So that's what I'm looking for going forward for Dixie. Let's look at our currency pairs and see how we played out this week, right? So looking at Euro USD, I told you guys at the beginning of the week that I was, of course, bearish Euro USD because I was bullish for DXY, and we know and understand that Euro USD is inversely correlated with the dollar, meaning it moves in the opposite direction of the dollar, right? So being bullish the dollar, of course, I was bearish Euro USD. And I told you guys that being that we ran that yearly high on DXY the previous week, and we had yet to run it on Euro USD. I told you guys that I was expecting price to run its yearly low this week on Euro USD. And as you can see, that's exactly what we got. We got the run of that yearly low right here on Monday, right? We ran straight down into that yearly low, closed above it, and then Tuesday we reached down a little further, and then Wednesday we popped back up above that yearly low. Um, and Thursday we continued to the upside, creating this daily fair value gap, right? And then Friday on non-farm payroll, we seen the heavy manipulation with this long wick that we see here, right back down into this fair value gap that we created right earlier in the week. And price came back down and hit that yearly low almost to the pip, right? And then we shot back up into the weekly PD arrays um, that I anticipated us pushing up to um, earlier in the week after we rent this sell side liquidity, right? So as I expected the dollar to pull back down into Monday's price range, right, on the midweek analysis from last week, I anticipated Euro USD pulling back up into Monday's premium price for Monday's price range on Euro USD. We're always looking at it opposite of whatever we're expecting out of the dollar index, right? So this played out to the tick this week, or should I say to the pip, um, up to the weekly PD array. And if the dollar continues sell off when we open up, then I will expect Euro USD to continue to buy up to run that 79% weekly PD array, and possibly even that weekly buy side liquidity. So we'll see how price open up and what order flow gives us for the new trading week. Same thing basically with GBP USD. I told you guys to keep your eyes on this level here that I had marked. I told you guys that I expected price to dig down into that gray shaded area in the pre-week and beginning of the week analysis. And then on Wednesday, I told you guys that I anticipated price pulling back up into Monday's price range, into those premium PD arrays. And we broke through those and continued to run that daily buy side liquidity of Monday's price range. So um moving forward, if the dollar continues to sell, then I expect the pound to continue to buy and vice versa. Looking at NZD USD, we was a little mixed for NZD USD because, as I said, she's been kind of doing her own thing. However, we did expect price to open up bullish. Open up bearish off of this fair value gap, right? This weekly fair value gap. And so we did open up bearish off of that, came back down into the weekly PD arrays, came all the way back down to run the weekly sell side liquidity from last week's price range. And then we sold back up to close the week, breaking back through those weekly PD array levels, right? And then I want to draw your attention to this daily fair value gap right here that price used Friday to come back down into before closing the day bullish, reaching back up into that weekly fair value gap. And so same thing for NZD as the other two currency pairs. If the dollar opens up bearish, I expect NZD to open up bullish and vice versa. So moving on to futures, ES, E-mini, S&P 500. I told you guys for the beginning of the week analysis that I wanted to see us open up bearish, right? My eyes was on um this fair value gap here that I have shaded, right? I expected price to pull down in there, right? Um, I did want to see price pull back up into the weekly PD arrays, which we did get Monday. We pulled up into that 62 and consequent encroachment of that 62 and 79% weekly PD array. We didn't get up to the 79%, but that's really what you want to see when you're bearish, right? You want to see price reach up, run up into that 62, but not close above that consequent encroachment, right? And that's confirmation that price is unwilling to go higher and wants to continue to go in that downward direction. And that's exactly what we see here, right? And then Monday, I'm sorry, Tuesday, we continued down into that daily fair value gap, right? We did not close below it, nor did we close below it Wednesday. Look how the bodies of those candles are respecting that daily fair value gap, right? And then Thursday we get another, we get another retest of that daily fair value gap. And then of course with um non-farm payroll Friday, we seen this wick down into it one last time, right, for the manipulation of non-farm payroll, and then we see price quickly leave that area and push back up into those weekly PD arrays, right? And so I really would have liked to see price reach up to run that 79% level, right? And that would have set us up for a great pullback if the dollar opens up bullish, right? If it opens up bullish and we had ran that 79%, on S&P, then that would have gave me some confidence in taking price lower back down into this BISI, right? That Friday's price action created, right? Coming back down at least into the 62% of this PD array, this discount PD array from Friday's price range, right? So for now, for ES, I'm just on the sideline. I would like to see how price open up first before I make any decisions. But ultimately, right, um, as the mentors say, if I had a gun to my head and I just had to give an analysis, yeah, I mean, give you my bias, I would say that I expect um ES to open up bullish, right? At least to get up into that 79% PD array and maybe even run that weekly buy side liquidity before continuing to the downside, right? Because like I said, I am over long term, right? I am bullish the dollar. So we know that futures are inversely correlated with the dollar as well. So meaning whatever direction the dollar is pushing in, majority of the time futures are pushing in the opposite direction. So if we do get that swing back to the upside for the dollar next week, then we should see futures continue to swing to the downside, push to the downside, should I say. So that's what I'm expecting out of ES. Same thing for NQ, right? Um I do expect NQ to open up bullish because as you can see is with ES, ES did reach up into the weekly PD array, the 62% and the consequent encroachment of the PD array levels, right? But if you notice on NQ, it didn't even reach up, it didn't make it to retest that 62%. So I think we're gonna open up and see NQ continue to push up to run that 62% weekly PD array. And I would like to see how price reacts to that 62%. But I expect us to at least run up to that 79% PD array. And if we start to see DXY curve to the upside, then we should start to see NQ curve to the downside. However, we could very well open up and pull back down into Friday's discount PD arrays before pushing up to the upside. And then once we get up to the upside, run those weekly PD arrays, see NQ slam back down to the downside. And I'm noticing this volume imbalance. I'm sorry, this daily liquidity void here from May the 24th to May the 25th, right? We see no price action right there. So that is a true liquidity void. So that's where my eyes is drawn to for EQ. Let's see, do we got that liquidity void on? Well, we do have a daily fair value gap here. These equal lows, clean equal lows. So that's the first place my eyes draw to. And then I do see this liquidity void here from May the 28th to May the 20th. I'm sorry, from March 28th to March 29th. So yeah, let's see if futures wants to continue lower and if the dollar index wants to continue higher. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude the weekly wrap up. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, showing my YouTube channel love. I've been getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of comments, a lot of thumbs up. Guys, ladies, please, if these reviews are adding any value whatsoever to your trading journey, please feel free to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe. It really helps out a lot and it really incentivizes me to continue to drop more content and more material such as this. So, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, coming out, getting this knowledge and empowering yourselves. Let your family and friends know you love them while they still here, please. And as always, peace and love, everybody. You know.